I'm going to call this meeting to order. Wow, that's loud. John, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Rhodes,
Here?
Councilmember Litzter,
Here.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Judge,
Here.
Mayor Thomas.
Here. Are there any items for agenda review?
Mr. Mayor, one item, we would like to pull the Youth Council report, 3C1, for this evening, and we can continue it to another meeting.
All right, thank you.
I move that all resolutions and ordinances presented tonight be read in title only and all further reading be waived.
Second.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
If any member of the City Council may have a conflict of interest or any reason why that member must abstain from consideration of any matter on this agenda, he or she should so declare at this time. Seeing none.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the first item on the agenda is 1D1, presentation of an honorary resolution to the 2023 City Volunteer of the Year, and Assistant Community Services Manager Raquel Worth is here to present this item to Jeannie Mortensen.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and members of City Council. Each year, staff from the city's various departments is asked to nominate some of the city's dedicated volunteers for one to be selected as the City Volunteer of the Year. Tonight, the City Council is recognizing the individual who has stood out as having a great impact over the past year as the 2023 City Volunteer of the Year. At this time, I would like to read an honorary resolution recognizing Jeannie Mortensen as the 2023 City Volunteer of the Year. Thank you. Whereas, since its incorporation in 1969, the quality of life for citizens in the city of Simi Valley has continued to improve due to the contributions of the committed volunteers in our community. These extraordinary volunteers are recognized during National Volunteer Week, established in 1979 to celebrate the impacts that volunteers have in communities across the country. And whereas last year, over 400 City of Simi Valley volunteers contributed over 35,000 hours to city programs and services. And whereas the Simi Valley City Council established the City Volunteer of the Year to recognize an individual whose outstanding service to the city represents our citizens' willingness to give back to their community. And whereas Jeannie Mortensen has been chosen as the City of Simi Valley's 2023 City Volunteer of the Year for donating 260 hours in 2022 with boundless energy and a willingness to assist in any capacity. And whereas Jeannie Mortensen served as a Council on Aging Executive Board member since 2021 in multiple roles. And whereas Jeannie Mortensen filled the vacant Senior Share Coordinator position in 2022 to assist with the weekly distribution of food to seniors experiencing food insecurity and increase the number of people the program serves by 25%. And whereas Jeannie Mortensen spearheaded the creation of a needs assessment survey so the Council on Aging may have greater insight into how best to serve our senior population. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Simi Valley that it hereby commends Jeannie Mortensen as the 2023 City Volunteer of the Year and expresses its sincere gratitude for her dedicated service to our community. Presented this 10th day of April 2023.
Well, Jeannie, thank you on behalf of the entire City Council for all that you've done to assist the city. That's a lot of hours and a lot of hard work, and we really do appreciate it. Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 1D3. I'm sorry, 1D2. Presentation of an honorary resolution to the 2023 Community Volunteer of the Year, and Raquel Worth will present this item to John Tolson.
Each year, the public at large is asked to nominate one dedicated volunteer to be selected as the Community Volunteer of the Year. Several nominations applauding the dedication, time, and talents of community members were received. Tonight, the City Council would like to recognize an outstanding member of our community, John Tolson, as the 2023 Community Volunteer of the Year. At this time, I would like to read an honorary resolution recognizing him as the 2023 Community Volunteer of the Year. Whereas, since its incorporation in 1969, the quality of life for residents in the city of Simi Valley has been positively impacted by the selfless contributions of committed volunteers. And whereas the Simi Valley City Council established a Community Volunteer of the Year to highlight the endeavors of an individual who is responsive to the current community needs and whose efforts exemplify a commitment to volunteerism. And whereas John Tolson has been selected as the 2023 Community Volunteer of the Year for his generous commitment of time and support to Simi Valley service organizations and residents. And whereas John Tolson has served for 13 years on the Rotary Club of Simi Sunrise as a member and board member, including president-elect. And whereas John Tolson is a 10-year member of the Simi Valley Community Council, which brings nonprofit leaders together to share ideas and resources, a 10-year member of Soaring Spirits International, supporting people coping with the loss of a loved one, and a 7-year member of Just Serve, finding and coordinating other volunteers for service projects. And whereas John Tolson founded the Interfaith Council 5 years ago to build bridges of understanding and respect among people of all beliefs. And whereas John Tolson has served for 4 years as a Simi Valley Planning Commissioner, including as vice chair in 2021 and chair in 2022 and 2023, working diligently to carefully consider changes that affect the quality of life in the city. And whereas John Tolson is willing to wear any volunteer hat and is a shining example of community involvement, inspiring others to do the same. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Simi Valley that it hereby honors John Tolson as the 2023 Community Volunteer of the Year and expresses its sincere gratitude for his tireless service to our community. Presented this 10th day of April, 2023.
Well, John, first of all, on behalf of the entire City Council, thank you for all you do for this city. And I know it's a lot. This particular award means a lot to me because it happens to be an award that my late wife received, and I know that means a lot to you. So congratulations.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 1D3. Presentation of a proclamation declaring the week of April 23rd through April 29th, 2023 as Library Week. And Assistant City Manager Linda Swan is here to present this item, and accepting the proclamation is Kelly Beely.
There we go. Whereas libraries provide the opportunity for everyone to pursue their passions and engage in lifelong learning, allowing them to live their best life. And whereas libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions for all members of the community, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or social economic status. And whereas libraries strive to develop and maintain programs and collections that are as diverse as the populations they serve and ensure equity of access for all. And whereas libraries adapt to the ever-changing needs of their communities, continually expanding their collections, services, and partnerships. And whereas libraries play a critical role in the economic vitality of communities by providing internet and technology access, literacy skills, and support for job seekers, small businesses, and entrepreneurs. And whereas libraries are accessible and inclusive places that promote a sense of local connection, advancing understanding, civic engagement, and shared community goals. And whereas libraries are cornerstones of democracy, promoting the free exchange of information and ideas for all. And one more whereas. Libraries, librarians, and library workers are joining library supporters and advocates across the nation to celebrate National Library Week. So now, therefore, April 23rd through April 29th, 2023 is hereby proclaimed Library Week in the city of Simi Valley to show appreciation of and to recognize the vital role of Simi Valley Public Library and its staff play in our community. All residents are encouraged to visit the Simi Valley Public Library to explore the wealth of resources available. Because of you, libraries transform lives and communities.
So I have a couple comments I wanted to make. First of all, you gave me a tour of the library recently. It was the first time I've ever done it, and I was amazed at all there is going on, but even more amazed at where the library is headed in the future. And two, I was really impressed in your passion for the job that you do. Very impressive. Anyways, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 1D4, presentation of a proclamation declaring the week of April 9th through April 15th, 2023 as Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, and Communications Manager Aaron Cooper is here to present this item, and accepting the proclamation is James Liddy.
How are you?
Good evening. Whereas National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week acknowledges and honors the men and women in this vital career, whose knowledge and professionalism to make critical decisions, obtain necessary information, and quickly dispatch needed aid is so greatly relied upon, and whereas in an emergency, Americans depend on 911, and each and every day dispatchers answer desperate calls for help, responding with services that save the lives and property of citizens in the need of assistance, and whereas these public safety dispatchers are more than anonymous voices on the telephone and radio. They are professionals who play a crucial role ensuring that public safety resources are deployed in an effective and timely manner to protect our citizens and community. And whereas Simi Valley Police Department dispatchers serve our citizens daily, and the work of those dedicated individuals in emergency situations is invaluable, and each of these men and women deserve heartfelt appreciation and honor. Now, therefore, April 9 through April 15, 2023 is hereby proclaimed Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in the city of Simi Valley to show appreciation and to recognize the public's health, safety, and well-being often depend upon the commitment and steadfast devotion public safety dispatchers have in serving our community. We count on them to answer the call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Dispatchers are some of the most important people you never see. They are the unsung heroes of public safety. Presented this 10th day of April 2023.
So what you might not know is what a stressful job it can be. The stuff that they have to deal with and the emotions that are going on, it can be really taxing at times. And it really is a tough job that they do, and we really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 2, public statements on appointments, special presentations, and informational reports. Mr. Mayor, we have no speaker cards for this item. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the next item on the agenda is item 3A1, appointments to the Community Projects Grant Review Committee, and Senior Management Analyst Cynthia McCullough is here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and members of the City Council. The City Council created the Community Projects Review Committee to review applications and provide funding recommendations to the City Council on the distribution of grant funding of up to $150,000. The review committee is comprised of 7 representatives from each one of the 4 neighborhood councils, the Youth Council, the Council on Aging, and the community at large. Each of the advisory boards nominated representatives at their regular meetings in March. An open recruitment for the community at large member position began on February 14th and ended on March 3rd. Councilmember Kavanaugh and Councilmember Rhodes conducted interviews on March 21st and nominated 1 representative. A total of 7 nominees are being recommended to serve on the review committee, with terms commencing immediately and concluding when the City Council awards the fiscal year 2023-24 funding. A few of the nominees are present this evening, and as I call your name, please come forward. Representing Neighborhood Council Number 1, Debbie Gainey. Representing Neighborhood Council Number 2, Sam Cohen. Representing Neighborhood Council 3, Cynthia Gallo. Representing Neighborhood Council Number 4, Gina Troncalli. Representing the Council on Aging, Janet Plant. Representing the Youth Council, Christopher Krikorian. And representing the community at large, Elsa Dreckman. It is recommended that the City Council approve and the Mayor appoint these 7 nominees to the Community Projects Grant Review Committee. This concludes the report, and staff is available for any questions.
Any questions?
No questions, but sure appreciate their willingness to serve, and it's not going to be an easy job, but we appreciate it. I'm certainly willing to make a motion unless
Okay, go ahead.
I move. I move to approve and the mayor appoint the 7 nominees to Community Projects Grant Review Committee with terms commencing upon appointment and concluding when the City Council awards the fiscal year 2023-24 CPG funding.
Second.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, the next item on the agenda is item 3A2, selection of 2 City Council members to conduct Americans with Disabilities Act ADA Paratransit Advisory Committee interviews. And Public Works Director Ron Fuchiwaki is here to present this item.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Thomas and council members. The Americans with Disabilities Act Paratransit Advisory Committee is comprised of 7 members appointed by the City Council, including 5 member status and 2 alternates. The committee advises the city on issues such as service policy, availability, and accessibility associated with the transportation of persons with disabilities. One member and one alternate position on the committee will become open when their terms expire on April 30th, 2023. 3 applications were received during the recruitment process. Staff is requesting the City Council appoint 2 council members to interview and nominate 2 applicants to the ADA Paratransit Advisory Committee. That concludes our report. We're available for questions.
I was just going to volunteer, and if somebody else
Okay.
wants to.
Well, I'm on the advisory board already. I don't know if that makes it a plus for me to be part of it or.
Yeah, I think that Dee Dee and the mayor ought to be the 2 serving. So I will make that an official motion. Were you volunteering, Mayor? I'm sorry, I wasn't.
Yes, I
didn't
was.
mean to put words in your mouth.
Second.
Okay. So officially so moved that Councilmember Down.
Do I have a second? Second?
Yes.
Call for a vote?
The motion passes unanimously.
That's great.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 4, public statements. During this agenda item number 4, the City Council will hear public statements from the first 10 persons who have submitted speaker cards. After the first 10 persons have spoken, subsequent persons who submitted speaker cards will be called to speak on during agenda item number 6, which is a continuation of agenda item number 4. Agenda items 4 and item 6 are the times allotted for public statements on all items other than public hearings, appointments, and informational reports. Speakers will be called on in the order in which their card was submitted to speak for this public statements item 4 for a period of no more than 3 minutes each. Persons addressing the City Council are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Mr. Mayor, unless you have any further comments, we can begin public statements.
No comments.
We have 1 speaker card for this item. Eileen Connors.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor Thomas and City Council members. My name is Eileen Connors, and I'm a resident of Los Angeles County, but I'm very proud to say I'm the Emergency Services Manager for the City of Simi Valley and one of the management employees. I'm speaking tonight to say thank you on behalf of the management employees to the City Council for adopting on April 3rd the 10% salary increase resolution. This increase was generous and also implemented early, and it was very much appreciated. Since this salary increase was proposed to each of the employee groups, I have noticed that the employees' energy from all of the departments has risen. People feel valued and appreciated. For this reason, I encourage the City Council to adopt a resolution giving the SEIU employees a 10% salary increase tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that was the only speaker card this evening. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 4A, City Council comments regarding public statements.
Well, then I say, I will comment then that that's exactly how we feel. We do value employees of the city very much.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is public hearings. This is a time for testimony on public hearings on the consideration of matters as presented on this agenda. Let the record show that due notice was given as required by law, and an affidavit to this effect is on file in the office of the City Clerk. All comments submitted by email have already been provided to the City Council and will be made part of the record. However, they will not be read by the City Clerk this evening. Speakers will be called on in the order in which their card was submitted for this public testimony item 5 for a period of no more than 5 minutes each. Persons addressing the City Council are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Comments should be limited to the matter relevant to this item on the agenda and may be ruled out of order if comments are unrelated to the item. The reports of city staff relating to the matters shall be made part of the record of this meeting. If you challenge in court any of the City Council decisions made here tonight, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at this public hearing. The time within which judicial review must be sought is governed by California Code of Civil Procedure Section 1094.6. Agenda item 5A, a public hearing to consider establishing requirements for backflow prevention assemblies and prohibition of cross-connections, determination that the ordinance is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, and introduction of an ordinance. The reading of the ordinance is as follows. Ordinance number WWD-18, an ordinance of the Board of Directors of Ventura County Waterworks District Number 8, adding Chapter 15 to Title 6, Sanitation and Health of the Municipal Code of the City of Simi Valley, establishing requirements for the installation, maintenance, and testing of backflow prevention assemblies and the prohibition of cross-connections. And Assistant Director of Public Works Joe Deacon and Public Works Director Ron Fuchiwaki are here to present this item.
Thank you again. And actually, Joe needs no introduction, and I would like the opportunity to take a few minutes. You may know that Joe is retiring at the end of this month. This will be his last council meeting, so be easy on him. No questions, just pass it on through. But I wanted to publicly take this opportunity to thank Joe for his over 19 years of service for the city of Simi Valley. I believe that Joe and I made a perfect partnership with regards to the management of the department. I sort of stayed back in the background, and Joe was out rustling the leaves, so to speak, representing us at all the major regional water, sanitation, and environmental compliance issues. So again, thank you very much to Joe for his 19 years of service, and take it away.
Well, thank you, Ron. And good evening, Chairman of the Board and members of the Board of Directors of Waterworks District Number 8. Tonight we'll talk about backflow prevention devices. There are approximately 2,000 backflow prevention assemblies in the waterworks service area. These devices prevent contaminants that may accumulate in the customer side of the service line from entering the district-owned system. Some examples of these devices are shown on the screen. We have 4 examples altogether. Yeah, you may recognize these as part of the urban landscape, things you drive by or notice as you're walking into a building or down by a parkway. Backflow prevention assemblies are owned and maintained by private property owners and must be tested annually to ensure that they are functioning properly. The district contracts with the Ventura County Resource Management Agency to manage the district's backflow prevention assembly and cross-connection control program. County staff inspects commercial facilities, industrial buildings, irrigation systems, and water distribution subsystems for cross-connections and regulates the proper installation and maintenance of backflow prevention assemblies on the district's behalf. County staff also assists in regulatory compliance by sending notices to customers to submit annual test results, receiving and filing the test results in a database and forwarding the results of those entries to the district, and certifying approved backflow prevention inspectors. County staff sends up to 3 written notices to district customers as reminders to test their backflow prevention assemblies and submit annual certified inspection reports. Currently, if a customer doesn't respond, their backflow prevention assemblies remain untested or at least undocumented. The proposed ordinance would establish requirements for backflow prevention assembly installation, maintenance, and annual testing and reporting with consequences for noncompliance. The proposed ordinance is consistent with regulatory requirements. Staff recommends that enforcement actions include first a fee, then a fine, and ultimately terminating water service if necessary to support the testing and reporting program. Staff will return to the City Council with a separate item to add the proposed fine to the summary of service charges subsequent to adopting the ordinance. Staff recommends that the Board of Directors conduct a public hearing and at the close of the hearing, introduce for first reading ordinance number WWD-18 to add Chapter 15, Title 6, Sanitation and Health of the Simi Valley Municipal Code to establish requirements for the installation, maintenance, and testing of backflow prevention assemblies. It has been my great pleasure to present this to you this evening, And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Councilmember Rhodes.
Mr. Deacon, I have a few questions. If a backflow device fails, what is the exposure that the city has? What is the risk to the city? And why are we enforcing this compliance?
So we have a public distribution system that operates, automatically. If a contaminant comes back in, we might not even know it until it reaches a customer's destination or a neighborhood's destination. I mean, so there could be widespread, delivery of contaminants to homes and businesses before we even have a chance to react.
And my last question is, after 19 years, this is what you want to end on.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate your support. Although I've been before this council and especially previous councils with many other issues, and over the years I've appreciated the council's support. Even when they haven't agreed with my recommendation, I've still felt the support of the city council, and
you have it.
and I continue to tonight, and I thank you for that.
Thank you for your service.
Councilmember Litster.
Joe, you are going to really be missed. I just want to make that very, very clear. I do have some questions. I was trying to understand. We contract with VCRMA, or the Ventura County Regulation Management, agency, to inspect and administer this, basically. Do they on their own have enforcement authority? I mean, do we have to give that to them, or do they have their own?
No, they serve simply as a contractor. They have certified people that can do the inspection and the work, but they just maintain databases. Even for the county, I was talking to someone today who's a former county employee and said, no, when they inspected, the RMA would come out and inspect us, but we would have to actually conduct our own inspections, and we would have to provide them the reports just like we do.
And does the county have similar penalties for noncompliance?
Most municipalities have a compliance structure with enforcement for fees and fines for people who don't comply. So we end up, and the city manager asked me this earlier, I mean, we routinely have hundreds of non-compliant facilities every year that they just basically ignore us.
So as I was reading the report, I have to admit, I was wondering, now, why would someone not comply? I was just kind of doing, and I maybe some are willful, but I wondered if there's also maybe a lack of knowledge or expertise to complete the testing. I mean,
And there's no doubt, I mean, a big part of I think you've heard us talk about this when you've come out and heard our environmental compliance, presentations. But our first act in any compliance measure is to educate. Work with those people who have requirements. We realize the regulatory requirements are voluminous and sometimes confusing. And so our job as staff on the front lines is to help those people understand what the requirements are, first and foremost. And we will work patiently but persistently with businesses to first help them understand. And once we're certain they can understand, make sure they do what's needed.
And so when the reminders go out, does it include, maybe not how to, but here are places you can contract with to get the work done, or?
And so being both public agencies, we're somewhat limited in how we can promote services provided by private entities, but it does give instruction on what is needed. So people can resource that if they choose.
Got it. Okay, and that makes much sense. Because I was concerned as I was reading it, I noticed primarily it's industrial, commercial, some multifamily, but it did mention there are some single-family residentials that also have this, so.
Yeah, it's mostly large lands, it's mostly parks and industrial facilities, but there are some fire control systems and other things that do have backflow prevention devices.
And what would you say right now the compliance rate percentage is as far as?
I really don't know. I know that it's pretty poor, but I don't know exactly what a percentage is. to be honest
Okay.
with you. We could respond to.
That's
I
right.
can look into that further. and respond.
But just to understand, the first time they get, the request to comply, there's not a penalty if they meet the deadline, correct?
Right.
Second time, if there's a request, if they haven't complied, then there becomes a fee or a fine?
So what, we don't have that in enforcement capability as yet, so this ordinance would
Right.
start that.
I'm sorry,
But-
yes,
but-
with this
but,
ordinance, I
yeah,
should have
so-
qualified.
So what would happen is if, if we have to remind them to send it in, we would charge them a fee for whatever time it takes us to assemble that paperwork to do that. If they takes a second time, we would also attach a fine for not complying the first time. And then after that, we would take even stricter enforcement action up to turning off their water. And most of these facilities, it's not a human health concern turning off their water. These are almost always landscape or industrial facilities.
Got it. And I have one final question. Thank you for giving me this time. Do we have the ability, let's say they don't respond, to actually go in and perform the test so we actually know? I mean, because as I understand, it has to be within 10 feet of the water main or something. And so it's usually exposed to someone who's reading the meter,
Our
maybe.
great preference would be to educate and help people understand that it is their requirement
And have them do it.
and have them do it.
Got it. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Thank you, Joe.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Thank you. I learned about these wonderful things when we built my bank building, and I'm like, what the heck is this test thing for? But I do know there are private contractors out there also. I actually, when I was responsible for the facility maintenance, I had somebody that every year came out on a regular basis. He actually reminded me, you're due on your testing, just like the fire extinguishers, that type of a thing. So I didn't find it as a problem at all. And it was minimal cost. I mean, it really wasn't a large dollar amount. So I think it's very, very important that we do maintain these. It's a lot easier to control them and to maintain them than to have to correct something if it goes wrong. And you won't be here to help with that. So we need to make sure we take care of it now. And I was going to clarify that the majority of them are in the business sector. So the worst possibility, cutting off the water, is not necessarily a hardship to people living in their homes. So those are really my questions. I'm sorry that you're leaving. I'm happy for you, but I'm sorry for us. It's been a wonderful, this is my 7th year with you up here, and I've enjoyed every minute. Now we're going to have to see Ron more. I'm not so sure about that. Just kidding. That's true. That's probably true. I believe that. I believe that. Yes. When a trusted
You gotta
assistant,
love his candor.
when a trusted coworker leaves, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. So I just want to wish you all the best in your retirement, Joe. So
Thank you. Feelings are mutual. Thank you very much.
Mayor Pro Tem Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you, Ron, or thank you, Joe, for all the work you've done over the years and your community service. And, I can't say enough about the stuff you've done since I've been on the council. Again, we haven't agreed all the time, but most of the time you're right on point. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman.
And I also want to thank you. I know we're losing a tremendous wealth of knowledge, but I hope you have great plans for your retirement, and I hope you enjoy it thoroughly, and congratulations. At this time, I would like to open the hearing for anyone in the City Council chambers wishing to be heard on this matter.
Mr. Mayor, we have no speaker cards for this item.
All right, then the hearing is now closed. Any further comments or questions from council members?
Just the comment that certainly this is important, that it's enforced, and that is concerning that there have been many that have not complied. And so I think we understand that our water system is critical, and its safety and security is paramount. So thank you for bringing this.
Councilmember Rhodes.
Yeah, that was going to be I echo that public safety is what we're up here to do first and foremost. And if there could be some sort of backfill into our potable water supply, that's not okay. So we want to make sure that we get this taken care of and give you the resources needed to do the enforcement and get everyone in compliance.
I will now entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll take the motion. I move to introduce the first reading ordinance number WWD-18 to Chapter 15, Title 6, Sanitation and Health of the Simi Valley Municipal Code to establish requirements for the installation, maintenance, and testing of backflow prevention assemblies to prohibit cross connections to be consistent with the California law requirements as outlined in Title 17 of the California Code of Regulations, and determine that the ordinance is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA.
Second.
Call for a vote.
Couldn't give me a short one, could you?
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 7, the consent calendar, and there are no resolutions for your consideration this evening.
Either
Right,
one of us.
so I guess we need a motion.
There's no
If there's
pulling.
no items,
I'll move consent 1 through 4.
oh, got it.
And I'll second it.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
I'm confused by that.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, the next item on the agenda is item 8A, approval of the memorandum of agreement with the Service Employees International Union, SEIU Local 721, and adoption of a resolution. The reading of the resolution is as follows. Resolution number 2023-16, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley amending the memorandum of agreement between the City of Simi Valley and the Service Employees International Union, Local 721, and rescinding resolution number 2021-37 and all previous resolutions to the extent that they are in conflict herewith. And Assistant City Manager Samantha Argabright is here to present this item.
Good evening. The item before you is the approval of the memorandum of agreement with the Service Employees International Union, Local 721. Prior to the beginning of negotiations, the council provided policy goals to the city's negotiating team that included recognizing employees' commitment and dedication to the city and provide a compensation increase to increase salary parity with other local jurisdictions to assist with the retention of current employees and recruitment of new employees. Representatives of SEIU worked with the city's negotiating team toward an agreement that would accomplish these goals, and the proposed revisions to their MOU is before you for consideration. The agreement before you is for a 26-month term that includes 10% salary increase over the next 2 years, a 6% salary increase effective April 24th, 2023, and a 4% salary increase effective April 22nd, 2024. The increase will impact approximately 252 employees. And I will now briefly review the remaining points of the agreement on the screen. Clarifying language was added regarding union release time for labor negotiations and ratification voting. Positions that the city is currently paying for in Article 16 certificates and licenses were added. Effective for the remainder of the plan year for 2023 and plan years 24 and 25, the city's Simi Flex benefit will continue the 80-20 cost sharing with SEIU Local 721 employees for medical premium cost increases. The job classifications represented by SEIU Local 721 and the classifications eligible for uniforms were updated. The slide above shows the 2-year cost for the agreement to be $1,585,002.12. The slide also breaks down the cost of each year of the agreement and how much the cost is attributed to salary and how much is attributed to PERS. At this time, it is recommended that the City Council approve the MOA with SEIU as presented and adopt the attached resolution. A summary of the terms are on the slide above. This concludes staff's presentation. Thank you for your time, and I'm available for questions.
Councilmember Litzter.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify, this is the largest of the unions, or of the employee groups, is that correct, that we've negotiated with? And so anyway, I just want to commend you. I think I want to commend our employees too, that we've been able to, in essence, offer a comparable package to all, and glad that certainly that our SEIU employees are part of that, because how critical they are. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that it really is the biggest chunk in terms of employee contributions. So, thank you.
Would you like a motion? Or you
I
want
have one quick question on the previous slide.
Yes, sir.
No, one more. Okay, on these items here, were these just fine-tuning details?
That's correct. So typically
It wasn't
whenever,
adding something new?
no, these were all really just cleanup languages.
Perfect.
So
Okay.
really nothing new.
Okay. Well, then, in that case, I'll entertain a motion.
Thank you. I'm happy to move to adopt the attached resolution number 2023-16, approving revisions to the current memorandum of agreement with the Service Employees International Union, Local 721 SEIU employees.
Second?
Call for a vote?
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, the next item on the agenda is 9A, adoption of a resolution amending the compensation and other terms and conditions of the City Attorney's employment agreement, and Deputy Human Resources Director Jennifer Gutierrez is here to present this item.
Caceres. In accordance with the City Attorney's current employment agreement, Mr. Caceres is eligible for a merit salary increase based on performance. The proposed salary increase is 5%, retroactive to December 20, 2022. It is recommended that the City Council adopt a resolution amending Mr. Caceres' employment agreement to provide for the requested modifications and read on the record the required oral report. I am available for questions.
Any questions?
Not a question, but I just had a funny comment. It's delightful having Sonia here. Now, when we have a conflict of interest, we have to leave the room. You get to stay in here? No, it's all right. I'm just giving you a hard time. We very much appreciate your contribution to the city.
Do you need a motion to
Yeah,
approve?
I'll make a motion, or go ahead. The official motion is.
There you go.
There we go. I move that we adopt a resolution to amend the compensation and other terms and conditions of the city attorney's employment agreement.
And then if you would read the oral report above that.
In accordance with the city attorney's employment agreement, the city attorney will receive a 5% merit salary increase retroactively effective to the city attorney's actual performance review date of December 20, 2022, which results in a new base salary amount of $251,000 and $251,668.48. The benefits and other compensation as they apply to the city attorney remain unchanged and are set forth in more detail in resolution number 2021-50.
Second.
Call for a vote?
The motion passes unanimously.
Squeaked by.
We like Sonia.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 9B, consideration of revisions to the terms and conditions to the resolution for confidential designated employees and a modification of one of the job classifications included. And Assistant City Manager Samantha Argabright is presenting this item.
Good evening again. Give me just one moment. As the city clerk mentioned, the item before you is the proposed revisions to the terms and conditions to the resolution for confidential designated employees. Beginning with the 2021 negotiation cycle, the council determined it would remove employees that are involved with bargaining on the city's behalf from the non-represented management group into its own unrepresented group of confidential employees. The goal of this action was to remove the perception of any self-dealing on behalf of the negotiating team members. Those positions currently include the city manager, city attorney, administrative services director, deputy HR director, deputy city manager, a senior HR analyst, and an assistant city attorney. These 7 positions were not recipients of the package provided to management designated employees as outlined in Resolution 2023-13, adopted at last week's meeting. Staff recommends that the compensation, benefits, and terms as those contained in Resolution Number 2023-13 for the management designated group be similarly provided to the confidential designated group. Although confidential designated employees are not part of a bargaining group, staff is providing the revisions to the resolution for consideration to provide transparency and solicit public consideration and comment prior to placing the matter on the agenda for final adoption by the City Council. In addition, a separate resolution will be presented at the May 1st, 2023 meeting to modify 2 of the job classifications included in the confidential designated employee group from Deputy City Manager to Assistant City Manager and from Assistant City Attorney to Senior Assistant City Attorney to capture the promotions that were effective January 2nd, 2023 and June 20th, 2022, respectively. The resolution before you is for a 26-month term that includes a 10% salary increase over the next 2 years, a 6% salary increase effective May 8th, 2023, and a 4% salary increase effective May 6th, 2024. CME Flex will remain at the 2023 plan year level with no adjustment during the term of the resolution. The slide above shows the total cost for the adjustments to be approximately $150,839.60 to the general fund. All positions affected are in the general fund. The slide also breaks down the cost of each year of the agreement and how much of the cost is attributed to salary and how much is attributed to PERS. At this time, it is recommended that the City Council consider the proposed revisions to the confidential designated employee resolution as presented and give the public the opportunity to provide input prior to making a final determination and place this item on the May 1st City Council agenda for final determination. This concludes staff's report, and I'm available for questions.
Any questions? Mayor Pro Tem Judge.
I don't have a question, but I'm willing to make a motion.
Okay.
I move staff's request on this. Do we have to read the whole thing?
Second.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 9C, authorization for the city manager to negotiate and enter into a design services agreement not to exceed $1.4 million with Metrolink for the Sequoia Avenue Grade Crossing Improvement Project, execute a funds transfer agreement with Caltrans, negotiate and enter into a construction agreement with Metrolink, accept $4.5 million in state funding, and Assistant City Manager Samantha Argabright and Principal Engineer Justin Link are presenting this item.
Mr. Mayor, I was going to do this at the beginning, but I forgot. Due to my location of my residence, I'm going to recuse myself from this vote.
Thank you.
Okay, well, good evening. Metrolink is enhancing rail service throughout the region through the Southern California Optimized Rail Expansion, or SCORE project, in preparation for the 2028 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. One component of the SCORE project includes the construction of a double-track rail line in Simi Valley from just east of the LA County line to Sequoia Avenue. The rail crossings included in the project will receive enhanced safety upgrades. This is an overview of the entire project on the slide. The Sequoia Avenue crossing was not included in the construction plan, although the environmental evaluation was completed at the city's request. Staff identified that the completion of safety upgrades at the Sequoia Avenue crossing should be completed as part of the overall construction of SCORE. However, city funds were not available for this project. The slide above indicates the components of the project, and staff worked with Assemblymember Irwin, who sponsored $4.5 million in the 2022-23 state budget for the Sequoia Avenue upgrade project. Caltrans is the funds administering agency and will transfer the funds to the city. On December 8th, 2022, a ceremonial check was presented to Mayor Thomas and former Mayor Mashburn at the Simi Valley train station.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas, members of council. Staff has been working with Metrolink over the past few months to create a design services agreement to allow Metrolink to plan for the Sequoia Avenue upgrade project as part of the all-encompassing SCORE project. The Metrolink Board of Directors approved the design services agreement during its March 24th, 2023 meeting. The Sequoia Avenue Grade Crossing Improvement Project will upgrade the existing grade crossing at Sequoia Avenue to both federal and Metrolink standards, providing a safer and more reliable grade crossing for rail services, local vehicles, and pedestrians. Once completed, the crossing improvements made through the SCORE project including Sequoia Avenue, will allow the city to apply for a quiet zone designation with the Federal Railroad Administration for the entire length of the city. The city's remaining grade crossings have already been upgraded to current safety standards. A quiet zone designation will mean that trains that travel through the community will no longer have to sound their horns as they approach intersections. As the Sequoia Avenue Grade Crossing Improvement Project will be a part of the larger SCORE project, Metrolink will lead the design and construction phases of the project. The design services agreement will provide for a not-to-exceed amount of $1.4 million of funding to Metrolink, and the construction agreement will be negotiated during the design phase.
Staff recommends that the City Council authorize the city manager to enter into a design services agreement not to exceed $1.4 million with Metrolink for the Sequoia Grade Crossing Improvement Project, the funds transfer agreement with Caltrans, negotiate and enter into a construction agreement with Metrolink, and accept the $4.5 million in state funding. This completes our presentation, and we are available for questions.
Councilmember Lister.
Thank you. Appreciate the presentation. I was trying to understand the flow of money as I was reading the report. As I understand, and help me make sure I've got this correct, Metrolink is actually the party doing the work. We received the grant from the state, which is coming through Caltrans. And I understand there's also a 1.7 million grant, a federal grant Metrolink has also received.
Correct.
Okay, so here's my question. As work is completed, we then pay Metrolink. Isn't that's how it works?
They will invoice us.
They'll invoice us. What happens if the project costs more than is projected?
We are entering into agreements with them that will not to exceed the amount that is budgeted. So at this point, our anticipation is that the forecast of the cost of the project should easily fit within the amount of funding that we have available.
And if, just hypothetically, as prices go up, it doesn't get done, it's still halfway completed, we've exhausted the grant money we've received, then what? I understand you're not negotiating not to exceed, so we don't ever anticipate that. I just want to understand the what if.
I think Metrolink would find the money through their budgetary process.
Okay, so.
And I think partially that's why they went out and sought the additional
The
funding.
additional federal funding. So I guess I was just trying to understand the liability. So we're not liable if it, or.
We will not be liable, that's correct.
Okay. And here's the other side of the equation. What happens if it costs less than what we've been granted? Do we keep the money and use it for something else? How does that work?
It goes back to the state.
Okay.
The funding that we're receiving from the state are dedicated.
Okay, I just thought, we can't plant flowers or something with it around the tracks or whatever. Okay. Okay, and then just the final question with this. So because Metrolink has received the 1.7 million grant, do they expend those funds first, or do they expend state Caltrans funds? Or is it all just lumped together? How is that?
I believe the CARSI funds are for construction, but I'll defer to Justin.
To be honest, I'm not sure which bucket of money either the CARSI is for construction or design, or could be used for both. The obligation for the funds, so each of these grants or funding has time limits. So if the CARSI grant has an obligation date, it has to be spent by a certain time period, then that will be expended first, followed by the state funds, the priority legislative budget projects. So it just depends on whatever the timeline is of the specific
Got it.
grants.
That makes sense. Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Rhodes.
Actually, Dee Dee has a question.
I just wanted to make a comment or two. I drive over that railroad crossing daily, and I'm very happy to see that we're going to be completely redesigning it. It's got, well, it's really bad on the southern side with the bumps in the road, but even the dip going over, I know we've had accidents there in the past. So I'm very happy to see that we're going to get that fixed, and it will make us a quiet zone, which is very, very exciting for the city. So thank you guys for all your hard work.
And if I could just ask, thank you, Dee Dee. If I could just ask one more question. This extends the double tracking to Sequoia. It ends then at Sequoia, is that correct? And just to be clear, double tracking, obviously it allows for passing of trains, so greater frequency of trains, but theoretically more space for that passing to occur. Is that because it's extended the track?
There'll be 2 tracks now, and so
Right, but it doesn't go all the way through the city. So I'm just trying to understand the benefit of the double track extending all the way to Sequoia.
that was where Metrolink had identified for the SCORE project that it needed to extend to. I don't know if you have insight into the council member's question.
It is from the operational perspective, so it does allow the trains to pass. Currently, since we only have one track at the Metrolink station, only one train is allowed to be in that station at any one time, and then any other trains must then queue either on a siding or another facility. So in this case, both 2 trains can arrive at the station at the same time, whether it's Metrolink or Amtrak, and then proceed independent of each other. Currently, one train has to wait for the other. So in this case, we're able to increase throughput and increase frequency.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I move to authorize the city manager to negotiate and enter into a design services agreement not to exceed $1.4 million with Metrolink for the Sequoia Avenue Grade Crossing Improvement Project, execute a funds transfer agreement with Caltrans, negotiate and enter into a construction agreement with Metrolink, and accept $4.5 million in state funding.
Second it.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously. With Mayor Pro Tem Judge abstaining. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 10A, City Council Member Reports.
Councilmember Rhodes.
Comes up quick. Since our last meeting, on Tuesday, April 4th, I got a special training from the Clean Power Alliance on their funding mechanism to lower costs. The funding mechanism is the issuance of $1 billion worth of bonds to save $8 million a year for 8 to 10 years. That didn't make sense to me, and about an hour later it did. And so surprisingly, I actually was able to take coffee future hedging and apply it to this bond. And I kept trying to find where Clean Power Alliance would be liable to pay back bonds, but the government is a magical entity and can create bonds with no responsibility to pay them back. So, but it does actually work out. So they were very patient with my questions. On Thursday, April 6th, it was a full day of meetings. This is the day of the month where we go down to meet with SCAG, Southern California Association of Governments, and there are individual committee meetings, of which I'm on the Community Economic and Human Development Committee. In that committee, we learned about 15-minute communities, the concept of being where you have a higher density living in an industrial or a commercial area so that you can live, work, stay, shop, all in the same area. And the idea is it's within 15 minutes by walking or biking or transit, which is an interesting concept. Trying to apply it to Simi Valley is a little bit of mental gymnastics, but I get the concept, and it's an admirable goal. We had the SCAG regional meeting. We allocated funding for grants, and Simi Valley is receiving, these are things we knew about before, but we're receiving about $1.5 million for 2 projects for the Arroyo Greenway and the Bicycle Master Plan. And then we should also watch for Connect SoCal, which is an outreach program where they can sort of explain and get community input on some future projects. And I'll be bringing forth any opportunities for council to attend and the community to attend here in the near future. Following that, I got to go to the Clean Power Alliance meeting where we approved the $1 billion worth of bonds. And we also heard about their program, finally something that actually makes sense to my brain about energy. When you have solar panels during the day, that's great, they're generating energy, but at night, they've contracted with an 8-hour battery company. And the 8-hour batteries, they fill up during the day, and then they discharge them at night. And if there is a PSPS event, the areas served by those battery backups will have energy for at least 8 hours. So not a bad way to fulfill that downside. If Edison's not going to deliver it, still can't be delivered, but at least it's there. April 7th, I went to the Calaveras restaurant ribbon cutting, which was fantastically attended and great family. This is their 20th location, but first in Ventura County. And they have no branding. My son, he came out for the weekend, for Easter weekend, and I said, hey, there's this new restaurant I want to take you to. And said, Calaveras? He goes, Calaveras? Because I'm like, what are you doing? Well, there's one right next to where he lives out in Rancho Cucamonga, and he loves it out there. So it's a brand out there, and they're going to bring great food here. And with that, I just enjoyed a happy Easter with my family. And that's the end of my report.
Councilmember Litster.
Thank you, Mary Thomas. It was a week of, well, I'll go by the book. I will say that it was good to have Tuesday to recover. I apologize for any germs I might have spread on this corner on Monday, April 3rd. So Tuesday was recovery day. Wednesday, April 5th, I had the opportunity to meet with Andrew Bunya, who's the owner of the Aquarium Connection. And that is a business in my district and in Simi Valley that that had a fire last October. And it was good to visit with him, and he's just having some struggles getting reestablished, and et cetera. And so we had a good conversation, and I know the city, there's some things the city can do to assist with that project, but it was a good meeting. And I will tell you that I was invited to that meeting by the gentleman, Mr. John Tolson, who was awarded the Volunteer of the Year by the community, and I can see why. He's always involved in good things. But one of the things I will say that came out of it, I've got my fingers crossed. I did introduce him to Kelly Bealey, and one of his dreams is to do a public, beautiful aquarium. So I just want you to know, I'm just saying it now, that as the library does some of its transitioning, anyway, I've got my fingers crossed that something might happen there. But he has amazing aquariums that he has invested in that are in storage that need a good home. So that's all I'm saying about that. The second event that I wanted just to mention on that day, I think it's quite commendable that Simi Valley was selected as the location for the bilateral summit between Speaker McCarthy and the Taiwanese President Republic of China, Tsai Ing-wen. I just think it says something that Simi Valley has the Reagan Library and the opportunity to host some of these amazing conversations. And so I just was proud to say that I came from Simi Valley when knowing that was taking place. Thursday, April 6th, I did attend. I too am part of the SCAG group that meets together. I attend the Energy and the Environment Committee meeting. Although I did so remotely, I commend the others for going downtown. I wasn't quite up to it this week. But one of the things that was discussed in SCAG's Energy and the Environment, I believe I sent or asked you to receive a link to one of the presentations, but it was done in conjunction with the Water Action Resolution, and the Pacific Institute basically was studying where and how we can find more water for our region. And some of the statistics that they stated that I found interesting, they made the statement that there has become a decoupling between water use and growth. Now, I don't know that you can ever completely decouple it, but their argument is that urban water use peaked in 2007 and has declined since then. So I think that is a statement of conservation and all the efforts that people are taking, but it was just an interesting statistic that they shared. They talked about the different ways we can find and use more water. One of the things that they noted is that currently 25% of wastewater is being renewed or reused. There's some definitely in that area, if we could find ways to capture more water. And they also talked about stormwater capture. They estimate that the potential in stormwater capture for the region on a dry year is about 580,000 acre feet a year, up to 3 million acre feet a year that could be captured if we had better stormwater capture systems. And so I'm glad the conversation is being started, and they're recognizing there are many different ways that we can meet our water problems. Also, on Thursday, April 6th, I did attend the Simi Valley Ed Foundation Teacher of the Month. I wanted to commend Nanette Perez of Burrowwood Elementary, who was the recipient, third grade teacher there. It was particularly poignant because she was nominated for that award last year by Principal Rob Hunter, who passed away suddenly this past December. And so it was particularly poignant and memorable that in essence, it was almost awarded posthumously. And it was just a special gathering. That evening, I also attended the Youth Council Talent Show fundraiser. What an amazing night that was. They had almost 30 performing acts. It was had been sold out for days. I'm sorry, I should be able to announce the winners, but what I loved was that the person who was the People's Choice Award, I should say, was a young lady, 10 years old, who sang "Fly Me to the Moon." And it was just, anyway, delightful, all ages performing and all sorts of talents. It was really well done. And so I want to commend Kristen Tignac and the Youth Council for their amazing efforts in putting that together last Thursday. On Friday, April 7th, I too attended Calaveras' grand opening and welcome to the community. I have loved Islands there for years, and so I was very sad it was empty for a while, but I'm hoping that this becomes a fun and a great destination. And I think it is commendable that we are their first in Ventura County and blazing the path there. So hopefully that they are successful. Yes, I had a lovely weekend with family, had attended a couple of egg hunts, and wanted to wish everyone a wonderful Passover and happy Easter. I will tell you, I had the joy of playing the organ in church on Sunday. It was so well attended, I was able to pull out all the stops and even have the trumpets going. So it was a fun time a glorious time to celebrate. So anyway, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Dee Dee, would you like to give your report?
Thank you. I noticed the mayor had to step out. Your gentleman with the aquarium connection,
Yes.
he needs to call the EDC. And they will help him.
And I want you to know that we talked about that.
Okay,
I specifically promoted what they have to offer, and
the Economic Development Collaborative. They have lending, they have business assistance, they have everything he could need.
I agreed, and I did mention, and
they have money from Simi Valley to loan out.
And I mentioned that as well. And I understand. Well, you were absolutely right, and I'm hoping he will take it up on it because
I'm telling him too.
Good.
You need to call the EDC. As I've mentioned before, I'm currently the chair of the EDC this year, and I'm very proud that Simi Valley donated $1 million to give out loans to our small businesses here in Simi Valley. So we need to utilize those funds. They have great lending programs. We have over 40 consultants that can be utilized by small business, all free of charge. So just have to keep that up there. So I'm very proud of the EDC. Wednesday, April 5th, I had my executive board meeting for the EDC. And it was very nice. We're having our meetings in person now, as well as some of the other public entities. So we meet in Camarillo. And it was very nice to find out we are celebrating 150 years for the County of Ventura. I didn't realize that quite. So this is our 150th year. We we separated from Santa Barbara. I guess it was a little acrimonious at the time. But the county we had 3,500 people in the county when it was incorporated way back 150 years ago. So there are all different kinds of presentations and celebrations planned throughout the years in the different cities, recognizing the different aspects and different contributions of every city. We had pages. There's a display. I'm very excited about what's going to be going on. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll learn a lot. They're going to recognize all the different, the farm and agriculture and the things that have really gotten us through to be the great county that we are. And the culmination, I think, is going to be, we're proud, Simi Valley, the culmination is going to be an event in November up at our residential library. So that's very proud that we are to be a part of that big celebration because we're only 52 years old, something like that. 69, we were incorporated. And we're incorporated in 69. But I'm looking forward to all the activities that are going to be going on this year. I'm sure the city will have stuff on our website as we get it from the Board of Supervisors. They had a presentation, and they were just finalizing up different things. But I'm very excited about that. It's going to be a lot of fun. On Friday, I attended the Simi Valley Police Foundation's Trap Shoot. It's a fundraiser that we do for the canines and all the other donations that go out to the police department. Last year, my team took third place. I think we took third from last this year. So it was pure fluke that we did anything last year. I had a ringer. One of my son-in-law's friends is a very good shot, and so he was a ringer for us. But we had a good time, raised a lot of money, and the Police Foundation was very happy. And we had there's some regulars that go there, and they took first and second, and so they divide up. One team's called These Guys, the other team is called Those Guys. So that was kind of pretty funny. But everyone had a good time, and that was what was important. It was a beautiful day, a beautiful weekend. I hope everyone had time to spend with friends and family. Sunday, I also did a brunch with my bonus family, and then a later dinner with my sister and my mom. So she had to work at the Reagan Library on Sunday, so we had to celebrate afterwards. But it was a great weekend, and I hope everyone had a good Passover also. So thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Tuesday, April 4th, I attended the Rotary Club of Simi Valley's noontime meeting where they presented a total of cash to the Simi Valley Police Foundation I think in excess of $20,000. So that was very impressive, and I was very happy that the Rotary Club was able to do that for the Police Foundation. For those of you who don't know, the Police Foundation is an organization in our city, a nonprofit organization, that provides fund to our police department that is not included in our city budget. So that makes up a big deal of our stuff, and it's a great help to our city. On Wednesday, April 5th, I attended my in-laws the first night of Passover, the Seder there, traditional Seder. I want to wish all my Jewish family and friends a happy Passover season. On Thursday, April 6th, I too attended the SCAG Regional Council and the Transportation Committee. Rocky did a great job in covering all that was brought forth there and passed, so I won't go over that again. On Friday, April 7th, Anna Lane, she's on a different committee than me, but great job in supporting that and putting that information out to our citizens. On Friday, April 7th, I also attended the Clays for Canines Trap Shoot at the Oak Tree Gun Club, supporting the Simi Valley Police Foundation. For those keeping track, I shot a .42, which wasn't enough to win, but it was good. Wish we got more, but it was a great time. Like Dee Dee said, it was a great time. It was had by all. On Sunday, April 9th, I celebrated Easter with my family, and I just want to say that's the end of my report, but I also wanted to wish all the Muslim members of our community a happy Ramadan season, which is ending in April, I think April 22nd. And today I attended a COA meeting where we talked about I know Councilmember Elaine Lister mentioned the grant, the money that was given to the city for the new patio over there that was approved tonight on the consent calendar. So we're looking forward to getting that done. Thank you.
Okay, and the world's shortest report, other than making an appearance at the Police Foundation Trap Shoot, which, by the way, was a sellout, for I think the first time ever. I pretty much was recovering from bronchitis, so I have nothing else to report. At this time, do we have any future agenda items? Seeing none.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to stall for another 10 minutes because I don't think we've ever gotten out before 8. So
I would like to say that this is going to be a record. Well, in that case, I'm simply going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here.